says, sisters and brothers of Adam and Eve. Did you see that line in the hymn? I've forgotten that line from Shadow and Substance. It reminds me of Josie up on the Central Coast where I served years ago. And Josie she wrestled with mental illness or developmental issues, many different things coming at Josie. But she's a sweetheart. She used to yodel for the ferry when it docked. And she was famous in BC Ferries. They put her on a poster for her yodeling. Hank Williams yodeling, country yodeling. But she also used to come into church and want to ring the bell. And as she rang the bell on Sunday evenings, she'd say, get to church, all you sisters and brothers of Adam and Eve, all you sinners, get to church. That's what she'd sing. And then she'd say, oh, preacher, wouldn't it be great if it was against the law not to go to church? Then the RCMP would go round up everybody on the reserve and bring them to church. She's just, sisters and brothers of Adam and Eve, get to church, get to church. I'll love it. What I do not love is the story of Noah. It is a tough story. And what's the oddest thing about the story of Noah is that it is such a famous story. Hang on here. It's such a famous story. It's a story we all know. It's a story that people who aren't even churchy people know. It's a story that people who aren't even Christians or Jews know. It's a story that's part of the fabric of our society. It's a story that we reference from time to time. It's a story that we put on wallpaper in the nurseries of our babies. Molly had beautiful border along her I know because I put it up. Beautiful border along her nursery with cartoon of Noah and getting out of the ark with all the animals, the rainbow. I mean, it's just as part of our mytho-poetic tradition that seeps through our whole society, and yet it's one of the worst stories in the biblical tradition because of its destruction, because of what it says about God. So a few things, first and foremost, as we wade our way through the flood, as we wade our way into the story of Noah, a good couple reminders as United Church people. This is the wrong time to cling to absolutes. There is no answer in the story of Noah. There's nothing at the end we're going to come out with and go, oh, that's it. Okay? And for the record, being a Christian with absolutes is not helpful in the first place, as you all know. It's about the journey, it's about the questions, it's about the mystery, it's about being open. So if we go into the story of Noah and think we're going to come out the other end with an absolute, this is what we know about God, or this is what we know about ourselves, good luck. Because those absolutes are very dangerous, generally. Or if you come up with one absolute, like, oh, the story of Noah is about God will love us forever, you say that, but then you're forgetting the whole, like, God destroyed us in the first place. So you just can't have those kind of black and white polarities with Noah, although it's a story filled with them internal polarities. So let's just hang on to that. Second of all, it isn't useful for us to think of Noah and that story as a historical fact. It's a story that was shared by a number of other Middle Eastern traditions. In fact, the great epic story of Gilgamesh, which is the oldest story that we have in our civilization, the story of the flood is within the story of the epic of Gilgamesh. It's told in a different way, and there's a couple different gods. And in fact, in the Noah story, there sometimes appears to be a couple gods as well. And if you remember the creation story, where God says, oh, they've eaten from the tree, now they will be like us, God says, or let us make them in God's image. So the whole idea of one singular God took some time to tease out. And even in the story of Noah, we have God and the Lord. There are two different words used. Lord is Elohim, that's plural. Anytime you have an I-M at the end in Hebrew, it's a plural word. Elohim, the Lord's. And then we have God, and that's usually the translation of Yahweh, who we sang about at the beginning of worship. That's the God, the warrior God of Israel, Yahweh. So there's a couple different usages of, so is there one God in Noah, a couple gods? We're not sure. But it starts off with saying the Lord noticed the wickedness of humanity. It really starts off with the sons of God hanging out with the daughters of men. It's the only time the sons of God are mentioned, there's only 3 times that the Hebrew word for the sons of God are mentioned. This is one of them. The second and third time are in the book of Job. Remember the business meeting in heaven at the beginning of the book of Job where it says, and the host of heaven were all gathered? It's the sons of God. It's the same word. Changed up, different translation. But the Hebrew word is sons of God. Who are the sons of God? We're not sure. General theory is this image of angels living on earth, or coming down from heaven, or fallen angels. We're not sure. But what we do know is the sons of heaven, holy beings, mated with the daughters of men. And then it says, and in those days the Nephilim were on earth. That's the sons and children, daughters of the children of the sons of God and the human. You don't see this much in the Bible, this kind of really cool stuff. Right? But the angels, the holy people, the holy ones, and the daughters of earth have had children, and they are the Nephilim. And it says in this piece, they become the giants and heroes of old. Some would say, maybe Goliath was a descendant of the Nephilim. You never know. But something's gone awry there. God doesn't like it, because that's how the story starts. God notices the wickedness of human beings and decides to, and I love these words, blot it out. Right? Like with a blotter. And devises this plan about the flood, and we know that part, the 40 days. We sing children's songs about it. God told Noah to build an ark. And some of you remember Cosby. The bell rings. Noah, what? Right? Remember that conversation? Noah and God. We make it sound so trite and so easy and so wondrous. Yay, God blotted out the earth. Let's sing a children's song at camp about it. It's dangerous. It's one of those biblical texts that can be used as a weapon, in fact. So the question that we need to place in our hearts, as we do with many scripture lessons, is not, did it happen? Who were these people? Were they really alive or not? What would it take to flood the earth? What is there a Mount Ararat? Did we find the ark or not? Actually, I saw pictures today, this week online, of the bones of Nephilim. Yeah, there's people who believe they found the giant's bones. And you can see them. I don't know if they're doctored up or what. Maybe they're real, maybe they're not. I don't know. I got no time to worry about it. But you can look those up online. If you type in Nephilim, they'll show you the skeletons of big, big, big people. It's not to think about all that stuff. We need to plant this question in our hearts always with biblical scripture. Why was the story told? Why did it last? Why did we incorporate it into our tradition when it was part of a Persian tradition or an Assyrian tradition, or the Hittites would tell it, the Girgashites, the Jebusites, Ammonites, they were all telling the similar stories. Why did we take it? Why did we make it our own story? Why did it become a story of faith that was so well told, it actually finally got written down, and you could tell it was told later, like in way later times, because it says clean animals and unclean animals. Noah's time, they weren't thinking about clean animals and unclean animals. That developed way later in the temple period. What was clean, what was unclean, this came through Moses and the people, right, the laws. And so you could tell they wrote it after, and it got developed after with those kind of little treats. And sometimes there's 2 animals taken by 2, sometimes there's 7 of each of the clean animals in 2s. It gets, mixed up. So forget all that factual stuff. Think about, why would they tell a story about God destroying the earth, and what are we supposed to do with it? Why did it last? Why did it come down to us? What's up with Noah? There's a great complaint. I read beautiful Bill Moyer's interview about interviewing many scholars, psychologists, biblical scholars, Jews. There's a Muslim in the room. They're all wrestling with this piece. And they get going on a Noah, and they say, what the most disappointing thing about Noah is what a meek lamb he is. He doesn't put up one argument. We have all these, we got movies, we got stories about Noah. We've developed so many stories about Noah, we actually think they're biblical. Noah didn't say a word. God said, Noah, I need you to build an ark. And then, I need you to get in it. Noah doesn't say anything really until he gets out. And then he lifts up praises to God when he gets out. And we're not sure if he lifts up praises because that's a great thing. You lift up thanksgiving for God's blessings, or he was terrified that God was going to do some more. So we finally got out of the ark, and God stopped for a minute. Let's burn some stuff. And God will be appeased so that doesn't happen again. Like, we don't know. Is it thanksgiving? Is it worry and fear? Is it dread? Or is it love that Noah burns sacrifice? There's so many confusing things. And we're not even told what the wickedness is at the beginning of the story, although somebody said this week that, in fact, if you count between the beginning of Genesis, the beginning of the book of creation, and Abraham, the call of Abraham in chapter 12, there are 7 major sins equaling the 7 days of creation. Some before Noah, some after Noah. I don't know. But we're not sure what the wickedness is except for the Nephilim. And I got thinking this week, there is an abuse of power, scholars would say, when the angels of heaven accost the daughters of men. And so there is an abuse of power there that doesn't make God happy. That may have been the wickedness, because that's how the story begins. There's something going on with the sons of God and the daughters of men that isn't right. And God saw the wickedness of the earth, and then we go on. So maybe it's Cain and Abel, I don't know. Maybe it's God just got tired, I don't know. Certainly we've all created something with our hands and gotten so mad we wanted to destroy it. You ever done that? Crumple up the coloring? I didn't color inside the lines. I'm done. Piece of pottery? Cornelia, how many times you unstitched something? Not telling. So we kind of understand that a creator, it could be just a simple story about a creator who has regret for what was made. Didn't turn out the way the creator thought. It wasn't the perfection. Creator thought, I'm done. Crumple it all up. Blot it out. Start again. Restart. Could be that. Could be a story about the power of regret. The dangerous power of regret and the bad things we do when we're regretful. Could be that. We never understand why God killed all the animals. They didn't do anything wrong. Right? So there's some mysterious thing there. But I can say this. The story is abuse of power on both sides. Something's going on down on earth with the sons of God, and the Nephilim are born, and there's some disruption of the power structure there. There's an abuse of power that God doesn't like, and in response, God abuses power by blotting out creation. It's a dangerous story. Don't tell your kids. More important than why was the story told, or what really happened, or what do we think, is this. What have we taken away from it? And thousands and thousands and thousands of years later, I believe the story of Noah stands in the Christian church and for people of faith as a story that haunts us. A story of a destroyer God, a God that just may be able to get us if we're not good enough. A story of a God of awful, some would say, evil consequences. And for some reason, either consciously or subconsciously, I think we've hung on to those kind of stories. Some would say the Old Testament's just filled with that kind of God. Not really. There are a few examples, like the story of Noah. But we say the Old Testament's filled with that kind of destroying, punishing, angry God because it's a God we tend to want to cling to. And I'm not sure why. Why is it the creature wants to be so scared of the Creator? Instead of learning a lesson from Noah, instead of figuring Noah and that story out, I want us to wrestle with why it is we still to this day, having heard about Jesus, known about God's love, found God's love in community, through our families, through creation, through nature, through all the gifts. I mean, we are just showered with gifts. Why is it we still hold on to this sneaky feeling that God is just raring to crack us? That God is really more the God of Noah than the God of our Christ Jesus. Why is it we still have this uneasy relationship with a God? And you know it, and I mentioned this a few months ago with Job. When stuff happens, bad stuff happened this week, we kind of think God might have done it. It's often a Christian response. Well, God must have a plan for you in all of that. That sounds like the God of Noah, the God of destruction, the God who's looking to hurt us. And I don't know where it comes from, but we love to hang on. It's kind of like, I don't know, I can only just give you this physical image. It's sort of like we're walking our walk of faith, and Jesus is here, and this love is here, and we're always looking back just a little bit this way at that mean God, that kind of worried God. Like I'd give in to Jesus and all that love stuff if I could just forget, finally, that God might be able to give us. This is a tough message because it's deeply rooted in our society. It's deeply rooted in our movie history, in our TV history. We love the stories about God dramatic, God who is angry, and God who blesses, like one or the other. It makes for great TV. But it's more like the Roman religions and the Greek religions that have gone by the wayside, that we learn in grade 8 are wrong, because we learn them as stories, not as religious tradition. Zeus and Apollo and all those kind of things, and thunderbolts and Percy Jackson and all that kind of stuff. This is what the God of Noah's story is kind of like. And we worry that it just may be true. I have no answer for how we're going to shake this loose, except to continue to turn ourselves towards Jesus. To continue to turn ourselves towards the story of Jesus and deeply believe that love is actually what God's all about. To deeply believe that Jesus wasn't ranting and raving about Noah, or punishment, or God's anger, but instead modeled constantly God's unconditional, wasteful love. We need to shake off our old mythological understandings, our old deeply rooted, so many societies are like that, rooted in this sense that the divine is out to get us, that it's a punish and reward system. And every time Jesus blessed the wrong person in the eyes of the church, he said, that blessing and reward and curse and reward system is absolutely wrong. There's so many ways that Jesus lived. He said, forget Noah. Forget that story. Forget the punishing stories. We got it wrong. We're growing. We understand God differently now. Noah thought of God differently. Amos changed it. Isaiah thought of God differently. We've grown. We understand. It took Jesus to come and say, we understand. God only loves and loves and loves. As we journey into our fall together, may we loosen up, open up, shed some of that old stuff, and embrace the God of love that Jesus so much wants us